recording.
Excellent.
Okay. Let's see what other trouble we can get in. Okay. I put together 2 or 3 slides, and what I hope to do is have more of a discussion, and I hope everybody will join in. I know the people from the committees are not shy, so I expect to hear feedback from the committees. Now, you other nice folks, please feel free to join in. And if nothing else, you probably figured out we're probably a pretty easygoing group. Look. Okay. I'm going to do a couple things because a couple people mentioned things. What's the difference between a roundtable, discussion, the, programs, the, training. So with that said, that'll be one of the things we talk about. We've had our social exchange. I'm going to try and keep this to where we're finished by 8 o'clock. And the main things, like I said, I will cover the definition of workshops and roundtables, the current activities we have out there, because I'm not sure everybody understands what we put out on the calendar. So this is the first chance we've had to do that. We'll be a little more aggressive with that next year. And when we have the kickoff meeting, we'll explain the calendar. The survey, we had 9 respondees when I last checked. So I'll just show you the survey results and some of the members' thoughts and input. Nancy and I spoke. We'll give her a few minutes to talk about critiques if there's any questions there and comments. Then I'll come back to the agenda. So let me just go forward. Just to try and put some definition around this. And when we do, sometime in the future, we'll put it on the website, make it a little clearer. But programs are really, we're trying to use professional people photographers to provide, nature knowledge and photographic knowledge. And that's really what it boils down to. And I think examples speak better than anything else. So Alan's gardening, the wildlife, Lisa's Langle's birds in flight, and then Judy, the magic of bird photography. Those are programs. They're at a high level, but they do provide information. And sometimes you can even look and there's drill down on those to look to do something in the future. I'm going to come back to this too a little later. Workshops, again, we're trying to use professional people, but it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for us to use some of the club photographers. Some of the people that's on the call, like Alan and others, I think have a lot to contribute. And I think we need to, in what we've discussed as committees lots of times, is share that knowledge and also become more open and working together with all the members. So that's what the workshops would be, but they may lead to more in-depth training. And I think you've heard every one of the speakers talk about the fact that if you'd like to see more, or if you'd like to go down a certain path, they have different offerings out there. For example, Lisa offered some seminars and stuff out of the last meeting. Actually, one of the things she mentioned, what she's presenting. Yeah, so I didn't put it out there. I will send out her notes. She had a couple comments that she was going to send to people. Roundtables are nothing more than discussions, and they can fit into what I've seen in other clubs is lots of times after a critique session, or if there's after an event, some of the members want to get together and discuss what they learned or what's out there. It's a way to do that. The other thing I added in here was something we started doing a little of, and I'd like to continue it, but I'd like feedback, and that is emailing out things like Bosca del Apache, the capability to go on to their seminars. John, Selena, Rich, I know you guys went on and looked at some of his presentations.
Yep.
Every one of them.
Yeah, so for
They
every
were
one of them,
wonderful.
he's very good.
And there's a lot of free, I'll call them Zoom or webinars out there. And if we share those, it's another way to learn. So that's, unless there's opposition to that, or unless somebody's got some other ideas, I will work with the different folks and post, one or two of those a month, just as another way to advance our knowledge. It can be challenging out there, not for the newer people. So that's one of the things that I'd like to try and see if we can do. I'm going to take a minute and just, I didn't know who was going to be here. So I do have you're seeing our actual calendar. It's on the website. Again, thank you, Rich. I just wanted to hit on 2 or 3 things that are in here, because what we're going to talk about is what we're going to do next year. You see the roundtable, we're honing in on critiques, and Nancy can talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Lisa, what she'd mentioned last time, what she'd forgotten was she's starting some new training courses, and she's going to give us a chance at looking at her new training course, knowing your camera settings, limitations, and moving to manual exposure. And she doesn't necessarily mean you have to move to manual exposure. It's just understanding how you might want to get there. We have a presentation that's sponsored by Hunts, but it's an outside individual. Cameron Darnell is going to give one on Warbler. And usually their presentations are very good. And again, they'll explain the warblers, what we see, If you go down, again, what we've always tried to strive for is a program or critique session. And then each month I've been trying to work in workshops. So also this workshop here is from Noah, again from Hunts. And what I'll be doing is asking people to submit questions, but also anybody that comes in, they can send one through chat or just ask it outright. Noah has a really broad knowledge. He's worked for Hunts for quite a while. And what he's agreed to do is answer any questions people might have about their existing equipment or about equipment they might be interested in. Again, he wouldn't turn down a sale, but he's not there for that reason. He's there to answer any questions you might have. A couple of people have brought up like, different things about lenses or taking, somebody was saying that I talked to today was looking to move off of one of the cameras they had. And I said, well, ask the questions, see what you're looking for. Then a lot of comments have come up around bridge cameras. And this has been both in our club and people I've talked to over at AE and people I've talked to. I went out and connected with 40 plus Audubon chapters in Florida. Right now, I'm working with 8 of those. And what I'm looking to do is build some bridges with them, no pun intended, but look for programs that they have and programs we might build off of and, collaborate on things like field trips and stuff in the future. As we wind down for the year, we have Dustin Dangle coming in and talking about conservation photography. And then we have a workshop with a young gentleman who's been birding and working habitat for about 5 years. He's about 19 years old. And I saw him speak one other time. He's really interesting. And he's got some good things to point out in a workshop. So this is what we're doing this year. Next year, excuse me as I go back. Next year, and one of the things we talked about with the committees at the beginning of the year, so you folks can say I'm crazy or you can add in anything that you might think of too. I am crazy, but that's neither here or there. My bad humor. we did the survey, but one of the things that we'd strive for, and I'm going to jump down here to this particular bullet, is to have a program and then have a way to use the information from the program or from the workshop into a field trip, be able to take photos because we're a photo club, and then maybe even have a roundtable discussion after that. But the idea is we'll not only look for knowledge, but we'll be able to use that and leverage it. And right now, Alan has agreed to do a macro presentation when we kick off next year. And then we'll tie workshops, field trips, et cetera, to that. I also talked to a lady today, and in February, she will do a swallowtail kite program, and we'll follow that up with some field trips and hopefully some photos for critique. As I said, we did a survey, and I had, excuse me. We had 9 people respond to it. It's been interesting. I tried finding free surveys for the club. Believe me, all of them that are out there that are free have a lot of limitations in them. Till I went out and found out that Microsoft 365 has a survey, but they don't call it a survey. They call it a poll. So if you're looking to do a survey or you have interest in surveys, you might go try Microsoft and look under poll. But bottom line is we had 9 responses. The average time to respond was a little less than 4 minutes. And that was interesting to me because there was a couple of questions where you responded. So to me, that meant people took some time and thought about it. Note that cell phones are, where we thought they'd be, Apple and Android. And there's one person that uses a scope. I was just curious if we had people using scopes. Point and shoot, there's one individual and they happen to use a Panasonic. Bridge cameras, there's 4 people using bridge cameras, of which Canon seems to be the most popular. One of the reasons I'm doing this is so when we talk to people like the people from Hunts, I can tell them, here's some of the areas you want to make sure you have covered or you're able to answer. Mirrorless cameras, that's me. I'm the one person that responded. And I just got a Nikon mirrorless camera. Digital SLRs, no surprise here. And out of the 9, there's 7 people using Nikon and Canon. What would you like to achieve if you've done the survey? These are the questions that were out there. If you haven't, I'm going to leave this open. And I'd like people, and particularly what we've talked about as new people come on, they might complete the survey. So again, we build a picture of the membership. But, the bottom line here is improve my photographic skills, which is not a shock, but again, it's a point of interest. How often does people go out? I was kind of surprised about this. 8 of the 9 people go out more than 2 times a week. That's good. Post-processing, I'm not going to go through it, but a lot of different tools are used by a lot of different folks. I'm going to come back to the actual responses in just 1 second, but trying to understand where the majority of the people are. They felt like they were intermediate type photographers in knowledge of nature. To kind of pull this back together, the responses to the survey were, programs and workshops should be tied to field trips and critique sessions. Again, that's one of the things we planned to do, but that was a comment that was out there. Interested in taking more pictures rather than photo processing. Yeah, okay, it's what you enjoy out of the photography is what we're trying to provide. Interactive session on menus in my camera. One of the problems with my camera or trying to do that is there's a million different cameras and people have, different levels of skills. So Noah will try and answer some of this. And he's actually said he would go offline with some people if they thought they needed a little more, but he'll give them 15, 20 minutes. That's about all he can do. This person was pointing out that there's different skill levels and knowledge. Again, people have commented, and even on the presentations, they enjoy it. But I'm interested in presentations that feature improved birding wildlife compositions in basically macro photography. Interested in the art of photography more than the technical aspects. It's a balancing act here. I would appreciate more targeted exercises. And that's part of what we're trying to do in building the calendar for next year, is link everything together so it ties to different things here that we're trying to learn or that may be an option for us. Inclusive to new members. This is an interesting comment because the number of people saying I'm a new member, and I know going into any club like this, new members are hesitant to say anything. People have been around for a while. I've always tried to, in the clubs I've been in, is take a new member under my wing every year and or somebody just join the club. They don't have to be a new photographer, but just, help them along, help them understand how the club functions. And the last one, I'd like to see programs that will not only inspire me to want to go out and photograph nature, but will educate me. Again, we can pass knowledge. The courses and the things we can offer in an hour is pretty limited as far as training, in particular to a broad audience. But that was the survey results, and I thought I would share it with everyone. Now back over to 2021 and 2022. I think we really need to try and figure out how we can leverage and share the member knowledge along with other knowledge from the outside. So I call this inclusion because we're trying to include everybody to join in. One of the things I've seen in other clubs is a reluctance to think I'm signing up for something that's huge. In other words, do I need to spend 10 hours a week on this? I don't have 10 hours. A lot of the things that go on here in the committees, and the committee members can attest to it. If they had, some help for a couple hours every other week, wouldn't it be a bad adventure, or every other month? So, I asked people to think about that. We talked about the specific programs that we're starting off, but that's only a small portion of the programs we need to fill, or the critique sessions and these other areas. We need a member input. Otherwise, it's us putting up programs and trying to come together with an agenda that may or may not meet a lot of people's needs or be where people want to go. And I will say that we need to try and target certain things at times to the less senior members. With that said, let me stop for a minute and some feedback, some ideas. And the committee members can't speak, so I'm putting everybody else on call. Go ahead. Somebody raised their hand. I just saw it.
No, that's me. Marie, what I was thinking, I like the idea of your roundtables, and how about if we did the member share of their skills at a roundtable where you had your groups, and let's say you had a person with the Nikon who needed help with their menu, you'd have a Nikon person. I don't know if that would work, but we could just have like 3 different topics in a roundtable. That I think it was like the first meeting you did. We talked about Photoshop or post photo processing. That type Skillshare would be, I think would be great, especially in the type of presentation style we're in right now.
I think that's a good idea. I think it'd be very specific. So as you see, we have a lot of Canon users, we have a lot of Nikon users, and we have some others. I can set up and say, okay, I can do some Nikon, but I need somebody that can do Canon.
Mhm. Yeah, it
It's-
was
they're
just
similar,
using
but
that
they're
as your
different.
example.
Pardon me?
It was using it as the example. For instance, last month when Laura was going to do light composition, and then we changed to the
Yeah,
other,
on the fly.
the abstract on the fly. She gave us the information for the light composition and stuff, and I went and went ahead and did that. So it really was helpful to have that. And I thought maybe if you just had a couple of topics that we had a round table that you could go back and forth and hear information that might be useful.
Okay, we'll look and see what we can do to build the calendar there. And we may come back and talk to you about some of your idea and see what you think of some of the things we can come up with. Other comments? Gosh, the silence is deafening.
Well, you eliminated the committee members from contributing.
Okay, you can contribute.
Well, I just want to mention one of the people recommended an idea. It was Holly, actually. And I thought it was interesting and might be interesting for everybody. And that's sort of assign tasks and then talk about them in a roundtable or a workshop, whatever we want. In other words, we could tell people the theme of this particular workshop is learning to use morning light and seeing what aspects of morning light are special and why, and then looking at everybody's photographs that have used morning light. Things
Well,
like that.
Yeah, that would tie to what we're talking about here of saying we have a program or we have a workshop. We can actually take pictures. Everybody go off mute. And Rich, I see you raised your hand. So give me 1 second and then you respond. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I just, on the heading of suggestions, it'd be nice if we had, and maybe this was suggested and I missed it, had a workup. We have the critique sessions that always have a theme, whether it's zoology, botany, macro, whatever. We should have something in the way of a program workshops that are leading to that theme so that people can take the pictures, bring it into the critique session and get reinforcement that they actually learned from the programs or the workshops and were able to effectively, demonstrate how they learned or where they could be doing better.
I think Alan made that suggestion, didn't he, last time?
Yeah, if you look at what Rich has in the slide here, that's what we're building into next year's calendar. One of the challenges that we had with building the 2020-2021 calendar is because the committee before you this evening we actually spent a remarkable amount of time restructuring how the club would do what was best to grow member skills at all levels. And needless to say, because we were restarting the club basically. So what that sort of prevented us from doing, a lot of the professionals out there to whom we look for programs, critiques, workshops, etc., they're typically booked up over a year out. So we weren't necessarily able to do what is being suggested. But if you look on the slide that Rich has up, you can see, for example, where we kick off in September with macro photography, which I'll do. Then we follow that presentation with a workshop. And if field trips are feasible, if in-person gatherings are feasible, then we'll do a field trip to an area that's conducive to macro photography. So say, for example, Mounts Botanical Gardens, Butterfly World, or if a member has a suggestion for a field trip venue, it's not just what the committee has in mind, we're looking to members, like if one of you know of a great location to do photography, including macro photography, we will be open to field trip suggestions from members. And then of course that will lead into the critique session. And then following the critique session, we'll then roll that into a roundtable so people can say, you know, what worked for them, where they would like to see more information. So we definitely are looking to provide a more cohesive experience, especially by category and by member-driven requests.
And I see a couple of their hands up. Holly, I see your hand up. Did you have something?
Yeah. What I feel basically as a new member this year is that I think it feels very passive. I mean, I feel like I'm enjoying the presentations, but I was really hoping to have a little bit more structure in terms of like doing stuff. And we can't do it together, I know. That's really not the problem. The problem is, I need to be able to like have an inspiration, like even, and we talked a lot of, I know you talked a lot about conservation stories. It seems to me that, a topic like that would be pretty good, because like, even if you don't have an expert giving a presentation on it, we all know that it's really important for a picture to tell a story. And I think we could learn from each other if we got together and, had a theme and said, okay, we're going to do a conservation story this week or this month, and then have people submit them and learn from each other and look at how effective the pictures are without having to have an expert or anything like that. I think we can learn from each other just as much as we can learn from something organized way ahead of time with an expert. And that's just how I feel.
It comes down to collaborating or inclusion amongst the members to try and work together is really what I'm taking away. And having, like what Alan just said, taking and leveraging, whatever we can put out there as programs that tie to, in the end, something that's visible or something that we can learn from.
One of the things we've thought about, Holly and everyone else, in time, and again, it depends on how many members have the time and knowledge to volunteer for different things. One thing we thought we're still thinking about, but it'll come to pass as soon as we have someone who has the time, willingness, and ability to do it, is using a Facebook page to do groups where members, where you see, for example, September, we're looking to kick off with macro. Well, let's say members are driven to practice macro or are already doing macro, and would like feedback on their photographs. One of the things we'd like to see in time is a Facebook group page, meaning it's not open to everyone, it's a members only, where you post something and you make your intention known. Please provide constructive critique, or, I'm posting because I'd like people to see what I've done, but please hold back on the critique. Some people are comfortable with critique, some people are not. Some people would just like to share their work. That's something in time that we would like to do. So it's out there. The roundtables also can accomplish that in terms of after a critique where you've posted an image for a critique and you weren't quite understanding or comfortable with what the critiquer said, or you're not quite sure how to accomplish what you'd like to accomplish, that can be addressed in the roundtable as well. So there'll be a few venues to address building skills where it'll be more interactive, even if it's on a digital platform like this.
Okay, how
Can
about this year? I'm hearing that really, we're not going to have any activity until next year. And that's a little discouraging to me as a new member.
So,
Go ahead,
Holly, what are you proposing? Because Audubon, I'm speaking, as for Audubon Everglades, we have decided that any in-person meetings are unsafe at this point. And so,
Yeah, that's not what I'm asking for.
okay.
Okay, that's not what I had suggested. I mean, the Facebook group sounds good to me. Just because it gives us, where we can post challenges or assignments or themes or stories or anything, and then have people post and get feedback if they want it. That's something you could do in like one day. You don't have to wait till next year to do that, I don't think.
So I think we just need someone, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alan and Jed, I hope I'm not misspeaking. I think we probably just need someone to take the lead on that also.
Yeah, that's the main challenge, Holly. You're correct, Scott, is these things take time to set up. You have to have someone moderating, setting up the group, keeping track of the members who want to participate. Again, it's not going to be open to all.
Right.
Chances are it'll be a private Facebook page, or maybe it'll be a public Facebook page, but the group will be private. So it actually takes a member volunteering to set it up and oversee it. So even though it may be easy to do, it's the time it takes to oversee and keep it as an ongoing and, build and learn as we go along. It's limited by the manpower that the committee currently has, which is why you hear us from time to time reaching out to say, if you have a skill set, like at one of the meetings, I've asked, if anyone has knowledge with, internet, HTML, web building. Rich would love to have someone besides Jay to take under his wing. But Jay is being, I think, a good student so far. But that's the thing, so far, and that's one thing we're going to continue to do is reach out to club members, because we want club members to be more inclusive, not just in participation of photography activities, but also overseeing or helping with an Instagram, social media account, etc. So we're going to be reaching out looking for those things. So it's a function of limit on the time that people have before we can get things up and running. It's easier said than done, in other words.
Are all our roundtables already committed?
Well, what we have right now is, basically one of the committee members, either Alan and I, running the roundtables we have for the remainder of this year. And I'm booked on some other things with the trying to get programs and stuff, as I mentioned, with some of the other Audubon groups, which in the end will help us. But near term, it takes some of my time away. I'm a volunteer like everybody else.
I was just thinking that we could use one of our roundtable spots to assign a task, a theme for people to shoot, and then we could use our competition software where people could submit the images on that theme. And then we could have a round table and show the images and have sort of an open conversation with all the members that submitted images and that wanted to attend and chime in.
Can I say something? I'm sorry.
Did I hear from Nancy that she was looking to run a roundtable?
No. No, just kind of making a suggestion of how we could do one of those kind of more active or interactive projects.
And we could even do it simpler. We could even because we can screen share, so somebody can just show the photo. It doesn't even have to be done on the software.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just show your screen and show the photo from your screen. So it wouldn't necessarily put more demands on either Rich or Jay to run the program. And there are 4 of us at least, and possibly there's more people here that have knowledge, who know how to run a Zoom meeting. I mean, I can run a Zoom meeting, Jay can run a Zoom meeting, Rich can run a Zoom meeting, Alan can run a Zoom meeting, and there's probably more people in the photography group that can run a Zoom meeting. So again, it doesn't necessarily have to be Jay or Alan running the meeting necessarily. I mean, they've set up the roundtables I think that they want to run, but
Mhm.
but I mean, really, it's, and I love what Holly says. It's, you know, as a club, we can, you know, the members can be more involved and, you know, come up with ideas and run with them.
Rich, you raised your hand, so please speak up. Go
Um,
ahead.
Yeah, just, you know, a comment on using, you know, sharing screens and, or versus using Photoshop, you know, Photo Contest Pro. The, you know, advantages of Photo Contest Pro is, you know, basically you have a single point that is putting the pictures up. And with, you know, if everyone is sharing their screen, then we're spending the time to you know, to share your screen, bring it up, unshare your screen, then the next person goes through the same cycle. So we're gonna lose some time that way. Whereas one person, you know, managing Photo Contest Pro and whoever's picture it is can talk about their picture.
Rich, I totally agree. I'm just trying to not put as much demands on your time and Jay's time. Because I know how much time that takes when you're putting together a critique session.
I'm
So
gonna
that's
jump
the
in
only
here
reason I
because we have
mentioned
other
it.
people
And
that have raised their hand. Joanna, I see you had, Maria,
I
you
was just,
had.
I just wanted to respond there to Rich's point about everyone using that, the program we all have for competition submissions.
Yeah. Mhm.
If we were to do a roundtable discussion on each other's photographs, might it be easier if the photographs were submitted to if everyone knew, okay, if you want to take part in this roundtable, your photographs have to be sent to whoever is going to run the meeting. And in that way, the person running the meeting can just put together a little folder and share screen, and they've got all the pictures there handy. Just a way of getting around it. I don't know if you probably thought of that anyway yourself, Rich. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
No, it's certainly another option for sure.
I was just trying to think of a way to accommodate. I don't know the person who wanted to have a sort of group chat about each other's pictures. I don't know you all, but I wondered if that would help that person
it
achieve their
might.
goal.
Certainly
There's
another
several ways
option.
to do it. We're back to the thing where we have 10 fingers and 10 toes, and we're committing to 22,000. We can only do
Yeah.
so many with those 10 fingers and 10 toes, no matter how we spread it across the group. So how do we get other people engaged? And I really want to compliment you folks who joined the call tonight, because it's, you know, it's not the most challenging discussion, but it's one that can help shape where we go and what we do over the rest of this season and into next season. So we do appreciate the feedback. Holly, did you have something else? You had your hand still up. I didn't know.
No,
Holly?
I think you covered it. I guess I understand where you're coming from in terms of not wanting to commit a lot more time. But, and maybe I'm naive, but I don't think it's that rough to do a simple version of it.
Would you like to volunteer?
And then and I was going to say, and the next thing that's going to happen is somebody will say, well, how about you do it then?
Yeah.
I don't know who would say that.
God, no. Mhm.
But wait a minute, when we say something like that,
Yeah,
you know
it
me,
makes sense. It makes sense to do it.
but we won't throw you to the wolves. You know, we would gladly step up and help. It's just that we can only have so many things on our plates.
Mhm.
So we're trying to spread it around. Everybody needs assistance. When we started this off, we had a list that would choke a horse, literally. And compliments back to the committee. We broke things up. We worked together. Sometimes it wasn't in the committee we were in, but we'd jump over and help each other. So please don't think that if you volunteer for something, you got to take and run with it completely on your own. You won't. Alan and I will make sure of that. Alan, speak up.
Yeah, and I was going to say, while we're on this call, Marie sent an email, very nice email, volunteering to help. So Marie, thank you for that email. We can always talk to see, where you think, based on what the club is doing or on recommendations for things you would like to see for the club, that helps to take us in a direction that can benefit members. So we can have a discussion at some point via email or phone to see where your comfort level lies to volunteer for something with the club. So thank you for that email.
Oh, my pleasure, because you guys, you are doing a lot. And I know because I've been in those places that you are in. And I think that your ideas are really good. So rather than pull in a new idea, let's take something that you've got, a little bit going on it and just keep going with it. But yeah, we'll talk later.
Okay, great.
Great. One thing I would ask the folks here, and again, I'm one of those snowbirds, so I disappear for 6 months a year. Alan's laughing because he harasses me on a regular basis. I want you to know that. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. Anyway, reach out to the people you know in the club. Talk a bit about what we've been talking about. And again, we're not looking for people to sign up for 22 hours a week. It's not meant to be a part-time job for a lot of things we could do. But if you feel strongly about something, maybe you could help make that happen. And that's really what we're saying. So I'm going to move back to the agenda, but you can send mail to the steering committee, which is Alan and I, and then we'll work across the committees. And don't be shy. I mean, I'd rather hear some negative comments and say, okay, hey, we need to work on that. It's not all roses. And that's my opinion. So with that said, I'm going to jump back up here and hopefully, we'll continue to work on the calendar because we'd like to close the calendar for next year in the next few months. So we're not scrambling around. And again, we'll try and bring up things as we see them and share them with everyone. Critiques. Nancy, do you have something there you'd like to share, or Charlene?
Charlene, you said you had something that you wanted to.
Do you have something to share or anything on critiques?
Well, I think I'm
Everybody here
kind
of touched on it, but
I'm kind of backing up, I think, based on what we were just talking about. And I think a bit of perspective might be in order. I mean, the one thing is, this is a new club. And it's, we might have been informed from having had a previous club, but we're starting from ground zero. So this is two things. It's a lot of work to get it started, but it's also a golden opportunity to make it what you want. And the more we hear from people as to what they want, even if it's 1,000 flowers blooming, that's a wonderful thing, but we have to get the groups together, small committees. They can be attached to one of the standing committees for a critique or program. And we may be able to work that way to get people in. I don't ever, and I don't think anyone else on these on the board ever wanted this to be our club. This is your club. And we're trying to do something for everybody, but it's hard getting traction when you're getting started. And we really appreciate whatever comments you're providing. I think these are great tonight. What I heard Holly saying, I really enjoy, because that's one kind of on the same topic we were talking about before, as our last meeting is going to be the show and tell. I think you can learn a lot from each other. We do have our formal critiques. We do have people that professionals to tell us what's good and could be better or better pictures, but just enjoying each other's company is part of this. And it makes it very difficult. We all know that, with the pandemic and trying to do things on Zoom. But I think if we try to get a small group together that would like to put together a working group on, or a working session on sharing ideas on a topic, go out and take pictures of a topic, come back in and talk about the story. Too little time is spent on stories, in my opinion. And for those that are interested, there's always going to be the technical aspect, and we got professionals for that. There's always going to be something else that you can learn about composition or learn about lighting or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think sharing each other's insights makes a big difference. I mean, I go out, it's just an aside. We went out looking at moonrise over a lighthouse, and the two of us went together and we both took pictures, but the pictures we took were very different, and they were different in a sense of what we were thinking at the time or feeling at the time. And I think if we were able to share that experience in a small group, even if we just each had that one assigned lighthouse, or in this case, a particular bird or a particular location, and then come together and talk about what we saw there. It doesn't have to be a hard sell or critique or anything specific as to learning, but it's more learning about yourself and how you feel about photography and what it does for you and what you do for it. So that was basically what I'm looking at, which kind of bridges into the critique topic. But critiquing doesn't always have to be professional. And it doesn't even have to be professional photographers from our club, you know, the higher end salon group or whatever we're calling them now. But it can be just sharing among the people that are taking it because it's fun. I mean, we're all doing this because it's fun. And too often it gets to the point where this is really hard. And if you do that, if we do that, if we get to that point, then it doesn't matter anymore. You know, we just need to, and I appreciate what you said, Holly, but I'm also appreciating the circumstances we're in now with trying to do everything by Zoom, and it is difficult, and it's been hard for us to come up with fixes for everything, but we've been trying to do the best we can for this first year, knowing that it's laying groundwork for the next year. And I think that's the more you can join in the group discussions and say, hey, if you really want another workshop on an assigned topic, figure out what you want that assignment to be, let us know. We can set it up. And then you can work with one of us or all of us, however many you want to, on the board, and come up with a way of pulling it off. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, you know, so what? It's not the end of the world. We'll do it that way again. We'll do something else.
Thank you, Charlene.
Yeah, thanks, Charlene. That was good.
Here's
Very
a
good.
thought, and I'd like to run it out because I'm not in Florida now. And I'm not sure how, other than talking to Alan and a couple of the people, how much time people are going out. But, you know, I'm crazy in the sense I keep lists of sites and when I go there and what's the best time, that type of thing. But for example, if we say, okay, this month we're going to take in, if you'd like to visit peaceful waters, here's 3 subjects. And I did, you know, birds, otters, whatever, plants. Here's 3 things that you may want to try and photograph. And then we can do the discussion, Holly, like you were talking about. Does that make some sense? Or do you think people would be up for that if we, you know, posted a diagram and said here, and then again, people can, you know, respond back and we can have a conversation. Here's what I saw. Eventually we can build that into the Facebook page that Alan was talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be a location oriented because like you, people might be other places. But if we have a subject rather than a location, it could be done anywhere. So that would be my leanings. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to.
I'm trying to throw some food for thought out there.
Mhm.
And I'm going to try and be conscious of time. So
That sounds good, what Marie's got going here. That's perfect
Whoops.
timing too. I was looking at the chat.
I'm sorry, I got so many things up. I'm not
Yeah.
looking at,
We could
That's
pick
a
a
good one.
theme like nest building, because right now I was at Wakota on Sunday and the birds were just going crazy bringing in sticks.
Yeah,
And
that's
so I
awesome.
got some really fun
Mhm.
pictures, or you could do it on the point of, any animal. So that might be, if we had a theme for
Mhm.
our storyline, because I too like that storyline idea.
How busy was the boardwalk?
It wasn't too bad.
Okay. But, I like the comments everyone's making. Charlene raised a number of very good points, and to her point that she stated, it doesn't always have to be a professional doing the critique. Well, guess what? This month, I am not a professional. I am just a hobbyist, a serious hobbyist photographer, and I will be one of two critiquers. I don't know how high on the totem pole Jay holds his photographic skills, but he too will be one of the critiquers. So, wherever Jay wants to classify himself. So again, that's, us on the, us in the club as club members, not even as committee members. It's Jay and me sort of, taking in where we need to accommodate people growing their skills. And again, as we have members who are willing to jump in and do that, we will gladly, encourage any member who wants to be engaged to the degree to which they wish to be engaged, be it volunteering, or as Holly said, suggesting themes, posting for critique, etc. This is, as Charlene very correctly said, we've rebuilt the club from scratch. And it is our time to grow the club as to where we see the most benefit for everyone, but in particular, what your personal goals are.
Sounds good.
again, this is the kind of conversation I'd hoped we'd have, but with a few more people. The committee has talked a lot about it. You can tell that. And I picked on them saying you can't speak, which is difficult, I know, for a lot of people out there, including me. But I do believe it's our club. And Holly, again, you said this is your first time. I really want to thank you for speaking up. And the other thing is, like Alan and I, looking at photos and giving our feedback. The one thing I learned, and I've done some judging and the stuff in the past, it's all in the eye of the beholder. And most people that will do a critique session, like Mike did, will say, this is how I see things.
Mhm.
And hopefully they always pass on something that's positive in an area that you can learn from. So anytime we do any of this, that's all it's meant to be. Nancy, anything else on critiques? Charlene, thank you both for what you're doing there.
Okay.
I had one other question, Jay, and I don't know about, this is on the critiques. You had said earlier that you were working with 40 clubs or in Florida. Are you in that interchange you were talking about, were you maybe talking about having critiquers from those groups perhaps come and maybe trade off? Maybe you can trade with another club, do a critique for them, and they can do one for us.
Gosh, I would have never thought of that.
Jay, sarcasm does not become you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we're on critique, so time to step up.
No,
Okay.
Jay and I have been discussing at length doing quid pro quo. So in other words, Jay and I could do a presentation to the club in time when field trips become feasible in person. We could offer to do a field trip, say, if the Tampa group is coming down here and they want to organize with us, or if we want to organize a field trip going to Tampa, where again, they take us to the spots they know because it's their area. We're looking at the different skill sets that we can trade. And that way we don't always have to look outside of the other resources that other chapters have already. And it'll make everyone's life a lot easier for everyone in the club, members, those actively engaged in the different committees. So we're looking to really, really have not just cohesiveness in our group, but also within the state.
There's 7 groups or 7 chapters that are interested in, sharing both programs and how can we work together. The working together was what I leveraged in there because I want to take and see if we can help with critiques and find some people in the other clubs that could, do some of the critiques. I've invited some of the other club members that I've been talking to join some of the presentations. And I know a couple of them went out and looked at what we have in our calendar. Thank you for everyone putting things there, and Rich for posting it up there. So we'll see what we can come. But I'll have more to say about that in probably about a month. I'm going to kick off a meeting with the 8 groups, hopefully next week, if not nothing else, the beginning of the following week. The 8th person I spoke to, Mosaic, was a project that was out there, and I asked everybody to submit photos because I saw it come up through Audubon. The young lady is trying to gather information on habitats and birds and the climate and see how we're being impacted by the changes we see out right now. And those pictures that we're taking, like John Audubon had done, she's going to be using those to talk to state and federal people about, look, here's what's happening. And her words back to me were, I'm not a photographer, but the picture tells the story. And we need help telling the story sometimes. So I think there's opportunities here. We'll see how that goes. Again, I'll keep people informed. As we have our other meetings, I'll give you a snippet when it's appropriate what's happening. And then next week, folks, I will schedule a committee meeting so we can catch up on some of the points that we've been discussing. So that'll let me get to Florida, or if I get a chance, I'll set the meeting up before I leave.
Somebody
Okay.
did ask, what are the boardwalks like at Wakota-Hatchie? You probably want to stay away on the weekends. It was still fairly busy during the week when I went, but it was doable, but the weekends are getting really tough.
Yeah, I
Was
figured that's
there
why I
at-
had to ask when I heard someone had gone there. Me
Yeah. I
was there
personally,
at
I don't plan on
7:30 in the
going to
morning.
anywhere where you're restricted to a path.
Yeah,
Like
it's not
Lakota
even that, it's just,
or Gate.
constant groups of people walking by. And of course, when they do that, the boardwalk shakes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Makes
That
them,
they walk 3 abreast and they can't stop talking. That's one of the reasons I don't go to Wakota-Hatchie very
Power
often.
walkers.
or they're talking on the phone, or they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
or- Yeah, any number of,
Well, let me just kind of go back to the agenda for a minute. And the one thing I had out there, and unless Alan, you have some closing comments, is this is our club. It's volunteer driven. Thank you for what you provided us tonight. And please look out and reach out to the people you know that are in the club or that may be interested and say, here's what we're trying to do. Charlene's point was well taken. We went from ground zero and started running at 60 miles an hour. And before we finished and kicked it off in October, we were doing something like 120 in a no parking zone. So, we're trying to, leverage what we have and continue to move forward. And any help you can provide, any feedback you can provide, please provide it to us. Alan?
Wait,
Yeah.
I have one more critique question.
Sure.
Yes,
It just
ma'am.
occurred to me, since we have warm bodies here that can give us their opinion. We've been kicking back and forth whether we should have black and white as a topic for critique. And I'd just like to know from the people here, is anyone interested in black and white or not? Okay.
Somewhat,
Count,
somewhat.
Alan.
How many do we have? Julie, I can't see your hand, or Mary. So we got like maybe half. of
Mary
people
likes it.
here.
Mary says yes. I'm raising my hand for Mary.
Okay, so,
And
okay,
half
well
a-
then,
half a hand for me.
okay, so it sounds to me like we can go ahead and keep it, Nancy. It
Yeah.
was,
I think anything that has photography in it we can all learn something from it. And hey, it may not be the thing that we're most interested in, but I know the first time I saw Lisa's presentation on high key, I go, I don't know about this. And then I got into it. And I actually do a lot of high key and low key photography at times. It just fits in and fits into nature quite well.
And keep in mind too, this is just food for thought. The critique committee may want to consider, if we do a theme, you can consider doing a theme. And if there's a less popular theme, say do zoology and black and white, or macro and black and white. So it doesn't have to be exclusive unless anyone here thinks that can raise an issue. We don't want to give overload to the members trying to accommodate every single theme, but at least sometimes if we want to sort of, on occasion, have a critique session where we open it up to include black and white. So someone can do macro that is a black and white.
Mhm. Right.
Someone who likes black and white can do something that's black and white, but not macro. So food for thought.
Okay.
Okay. Again, thank you for coming this evening. Thank you for your feedback. And I'll look forward to maybe seeing you in Florida at a distance.
Maybe.
If things thaw out and allow you to come down.
That's true.
But again,
Yeah.
thank you very much, everyone. Hopefully we'll see all of you again at the critique session. So if any of you have any questions about critique, send us an email through the website, to the email that Jay mentioned, or directly if you happen to have an email, one of our emails, but definitely go ahead and let us know if you have questions ahead of the critique. In other words, how to submit or what you need to do.
So we can go ahead and submit to that same,
Yes, once Photo Contest Pro is set up, you can submit quite
It is
literally
set up.
all images
No,
Well,
at
that's-
one
I
go.
don't believe so.
Right.
Jay, did you set it up for this one?
I think it is. So here's trial by fire. You notice I don't get any grief from anybody. I get it from everybody.
We'll let you know if it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I figured that.
Yeah.
No, it should be set up. And again, please let us know if it doesn't, because then I'll have something else to learn.
Mhm. Sounds reasonable. Good.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you
Have a
very
good
much,
evening,
everyone.
Bye.
Great night.
Charlene,
Good to see you.
you want to hang on for a minute?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, and Jay, remember.
folks. Thank
the
you.
Recording.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.